Now that your game is all set up, let's get into gameplay. In this example, we're going to be using Timon and Pumbaa and Abu to try to defeat Jafar and Scar and rescue our heroes, Aladdin and Simba. Now that we know which villains we're going to be fighting, we need to take both of their villain danger decks. You're going to mix these with the 2 general danger cards that you put into every game. Remember, these are going to make things more difficult for your heroes either by taking health away from them or losing bridges. Now shuffle all of these cards really well together and set them aside. On the back of each of the villain's cards is the last little bit of setup you need to do for that specific villain. In this case, Scar wants to move one of each of the hyenas to the 3 different icons shown on the card. This is going to space them out around the board. Next, he's going to be already at 3 attacks when he goes after the sidekicks. What's interesting about Scar is that whatever level he's at, all of the hyenas are as well. For the rest of Jafar's setup, we've got to figure out where his tokens go. The genie is going to be following Jafar, and you're going to notice there's 2 sides to him. There's a blue side and a red. We're going to set it to blue and put it right next to Jafar in his space. Next, Iago is going to be attached to Abu. What that means is that whenever Abu moves, Iago's going with him. Last, Jafar is going to start out with 1 attack, so place one of the tokens on him. Now that Iago, the genie, and all the hyenas are out on the board, the last thing to do is to lock up our heroes. Let's take a quick look at the board. There's an outer ring and an inner ring, and these are separated by the water. For some abilities, you'll want to pay attention to where your heroes and villains are if they're in the inner ring or the outer ring. The next important note is that characters cannot be in the same place at the same time. So, when moving a villain or a sidekick, you have to jump over a space if it's occupied, and continue counting onwards from there. All villages are connected by pathways or bridges. That's how you know you can go from one space to another. So it means that these 2 spaces are connected the same way that these 2 villages over here are connected. Just a quick reminder on space rules before we jump right into the play. There's a maximum number of each type of token that can be in a village. For a guard, there can only be 1, and for villagers, it can only be 2. Any more of that, and they'll start filling up the spaces in the castle instead. In this game, 5 stars is what you need to unlock the lock to get into the castle to rescue your hero. On each player's turn, draw the top card from the danger deck and go through what it says. Most danger cards are specific to their villain and usually tell you 3 things. The first is where to place the next villager. Follow the icon and place a villager at that location. The next will tell you what that villain is about to do. Sometimes these can be really bad and sometimes they're not so bad. The last one is the villain's movement. They'll always be moving towards their particular sidekick. In this case, Scar is going to be moving 3 spaces towards Timon and Pumbaa. This card has us placing 1 villager, Scar has gained another attack, and then we're going to be moving him towards our sidekicks. A villain doesn't have to use up all of their movement if they reach their sidekick. In this case, Scar could go on either side of Timon and Pumbaa, so we're going to place him with one of his henchmen. The villain now also gets to attack. They can attack any sidekick that is in a village next to them. Scar is now up to 4 attacks, which means he gets to roll the attack dice 4 times to see if he hits Timon and Pumbaa. This also means that the hyena at the same location also gets to roll 4 times because it gets to match the same attack as Scar. When rolling for the villains, if they get any dice side that has the swipes, it means that they are successful. If you roll a star in the villain's turn, you still collect it. And as always, you're always safe with a thumbs up. Scar had very bad luck this round, but gained Timon and Pumbaa 2 stars. It is now the hyena's turn to attack Timon and Pumbaa. Still pretty good, but the hyena did manage to hit once, which means Timon and Pumbaa's health is going to be going down. However, Timon and Pumbaa also gained an additional star. Sidekicks can use stars to activate their abilities or to unlock and rescue their heroes. Some danger cards might look a tiny bit different. In this case, instead of moving towards the sidekicks, there's going to be an additional guard placed at that sidekick's location. This guard would then attack the sidekick. If your sidekick is in a space where there is already a guard and a new one is drawn, that guard immediately gets placed onto one of the castle towers. Throughout the game, you'll end up pulling a couple of rising danger cards that will cause pretty big events to happen on the board, like this exploding bridge. Remember, one of the ways you can lose this game is if too many of your bridges are lost. Once the villain is finished, the player can move their sidekick now. Each sidekick has a specific number of actions they can take per turn. Timon and Pumbaa have 4. You'll also want to check to see whether or not your sidekick's ability activates before or after their turn. In this case, Hakuna Matata happens at the end of my turn, so I don't need to worry about it. Don't forget to look if you've activated any of your ability cards as well, because you could also use those on your turn. On a sidekick's turn, they can move, attack, unlock, rescue, or rest. You can do each of these actions as many times as you like. You can't attack the same villain twice on a turn. Timon and Pumbaa are adjacent to both Scar and a hyena, so we're going to attack each of them individually as part of our actions. Timon and Pumbaa didn't hit Scar, but they did get one more star. They did hit the hyena, however, which gets removed from the board. With 2 actions left, Timon and Pumbaa are going to move and then go rescue a villager so they can start working on their ability cards. Now that I'm out of actions, I can come back to my ability that triggers at the end of my turn. For Hakuna Matata, I can restore 1 heart at the end of my turn, or if I wanted to spend one of my stars, I could restore the health of one of the other sidekicks. If your sidekick has gained enough stars so that they can unlock the lock to the castle, they first have to defeat any guard that's there. Then with the remaining actions, pay the 5 stars and unlock the castle. Each sidekick will have to rescue their hero individually, but they can use the same unlocked gate. Abu has now rescued Aladdin, which means 1 more hero left to rescue, and then 1 villain to take out in order to win this game. When a villain loses all the stars on their track, they are officially knocked out of the game, which is a great step towards the sidekicks winning. Remove their standee from play, and whenever one of their cards comes up in the danger deck, ignore it and go on to the next one. There are a few ways that the villains can win. The first is if enough villagers and guards fill up all 5 of the towers. The minute they're full, the sidekicks lose. If the villains also manage to destroy 3 bridges, they also win. If all the heroes are rescued and at least one of the villains has been knocked out, then the sidekicks are the winners.